name is Eguchi. I'm a cognitive science major at UC San Diego. I was born in Japan. I grew up there until I was 7. When I was young, I guess I looked really Asian. I was short and stubby with small eyes. In elementary school, you would just walk to school with your friends and walk back with your friends. There was a greater level of freedom because here you would be driven to school by your parents if you lived far away, or they would just pick you up. But then I could just like go home with my friends and just wander off if I wanted to. I could just go to the convenience store on the way back from school. I just like felt like I had this freedom to do whatever I want, and that was something that I enjoyed. Not being able to spend as much time with my dad, because in Japan a lot of workers work long hours, so I would go to school, not see my dad in the morning because he left earlier, and then I would go to sleep before he came back, so I wouldn't really be able to see him. Whereas here he has his own work hours. He can go in and work earlier and then come back earlier if he wanted to, so I can spend more time with him. I think it's very similar to how school works here. We have different periods where we study different subjects, but everything was taught in Japanese, even though so we would have just like language, but it was we just learned Japanese. We had math, but it was taught in Japanese. Every subject it was taught in Japanese, but we learned the same things, except for Japanese. I was a great student. My family was very academically oriented, so I did get my stuff done on time. I don't know about now, but I think they would say I was very quiet and reserved. I was a very serious student, but that's just part of my personality. I think it takes me a while to open up to people. I moved here when I was 7, just after I finished first grade. It was because of my dad's work situation. His company just transferred him over to the United States. Definitely saying bye to my friends was hard, but I don't think it was too much of a big deal because I don't think I had enough time to make lasting friendships. I just don't remember. Definitely saying bye to my relatives though was really hard because I lived with my grandparents, so they were like my second parents. Not being able to see them every day, not even being able to see them every year was scary in a sense that I don't know when I can see them next time. So definitely the language barrier really got to me. I felt really lonely and I guess closed off from society because I couldn't communicate my thoughts or feelings to anyone in my classroom and my neighbors. I definitely felt the difference between Japanese culture and American culture because I felt like Japanese people are more reserved and keep to themselves, whereas American people are very open and welcoming, and I felt really overwhelmed. So I was put in ESL. I did feel the language barrier in that classroom, but I was also more comfortable because all the other students were from different countries, and even though they weren't the same country like Japan, like me, I think that shared struggle of not being able to communicate in the language here really bonded us together. When we communicated, it wasn't really, we didn't rely on language, but more gestures or like body language. So when we would play, it would just be like tag or like stick fighting. It wasn't really like talking about things or gossiping like all the other normal students. I think the program itself can be improved. I don't think it was rigorous enough. I finished a lot of my work early and I didn't have anything to do. I would just sit there. But at the same time, I did a lot of work at home. I would read with my mom every day for like 2 hours. We would just read out loud and look up a lot of the definitions of words we didn't know. And I think that really helped me develop my language skills. Even though my parents don't speak English, I think my mom especially did a nice job of helping me integrate into my new surrounding. She would put me in programs where there would be other bilingual students, and that made me comfortable because they were bilingual in Japanese, so I could still communicate with them but also learn English at the same time. Coming here, I think I've changed in the sense that I'm more comfortable voicing my opinions and sharing my ideas. And I definitely think if I stayed in Japan, I wouldn't have that comfort because I would just be comfortable in a society where you would just keep your thoughts to yourself. But definitely here, I think it changed a lot because I tell my friends straight up now, especially my close friends. I don't really feel the necessity of telling them things that I don't feel because it's like, what's the point if I'm just doing it to make them feel better? Every time I would go back to Japan and visit my cousins, they would tell me that I have a different aura. They would say that they can tell I'm definitely not a native Japanese person. They see me as more openly vibrant. I'm more animated, whereas Japanese people are more like timid and like but yeah, I definitely feel more closely, I associate myself as American more than a Japanese now, but that's something that changed recently. I don't even know if it's like a cultural thing, but like my parents were all like, they always believe that you should try your best at everything you do. Not necessarily, oh, you have to get the best of grades or like you have to get into the best school, but it was more like try your best at everything you attempt to do. So I think it really made me open to try new things, like learning about this new culture that I'm immersing myself with. It definitely did take a lot of the stress off my shoulders when learning the new language. I didn't feel pressured to catch up to my peers because to me, improving myself and trying my best at what I'm doing at the moment was more important than comparing myself to others. I think one value that really stands out to me was honesty. My parents really pounded that into me since I was a child, and I think it really reflects how I think about things now. A lot of my friends sometimes says you're so black and white with a lot of things, and I blame my parents for that. But at the same time, I like that quality because I don't know, I just like it.